to the gym and being able to do a 45-minute workout is always mentally, it helps mentally than going 1 minute and then getting tired. So drop your pace, whatever you're doing, if you're lifting weights or whatever you're doing also, try and give yourself that the work of your endurance, dropping your pace or the weights that you're using and try and stretch your workout.
I do. Yeah, I do.
You're going to build that stamina, be able to get back into that routine that you were doing at that same pace or that strength at that same pace. So mentally, you want to get that muscle-mind connection. Mentally, you want to build yourself up. So that's what I'm going to say. That's the thing I'm going to say. When it comes to eating, people do dieting and stuff, which I don't believe in, because I believe in healthy eating. If you eliminate the bad stuff, you're just gradually going to have a good disease by just starving yourself and then getting back. But when you starve yourself and you get back to, you definitely go back to eating again, you gain weight. So I'm just trying also eliminate all the bad diets and then adapt the healthy eating where you don't get back to eating bad stuff. And then you just maintain that gradual lifestyle. You know, that also helps. So basically, when you get it back, pace yourself. You know, you don't want to lose your focus and you don't want to get frustrated. So I'll start with this, and then next week we start going deeper into
balance, you know,
tips, you know, to build the physics and the lifestyle that we need.
I know, right?
Go ahead, give us more.
Hello?
Give us more updates.
Okay, because I thought I was on a time constraint. So yeah, okay. What I'm going to say, okay, I was talking about, let's talk about dieting. Let's talk about food. Let's just talk about food, because not everybody goes with it. Now, if you want to gain, like, or get a good physique, or just adapt a healthy lifestyle, refrain from dieting. Because dieting, you're just starving yourself. And if you starve yourself, you're not giving your body the right nutrients that you need. If you don't give your body the right nutrients that you need, yes, you're going to lose weight. What kind of weight are you losing? You're losing energy, you're losing water, and then you're losing maybe fat and also muscle mass. That's not the That's not the right kind of weight.
Let it go, right?
You want to lose the bad weight. That's why. So if you want to do that, you just have to adapt a healthy eating lifestyle, eliminate the bad stuff. And that takes a little gradual process than an aggressive process, right? When you starve yourself aggressively, a month you're going to drop down. When you can't sustain that pace, because what's going to happen is you're going to be tired, you're going to be weak. Eventually, you go back to eating the bad stuff, and then you blow up again. We don't want that. So basically, adapt a lifestyle where you eliminate the bad stuff. Now, that's not going to be an aggressive approach towards your physics changing. That's why it's called building. It takes a process. You know, so gradually you're just going to be dropping 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds. Yeah, gradually you're also adapting that habit of eating healthy. So by the time you're in a couple of months, you can't even eat that stuff anymore. And then your body's going to be changing, you're going to be losing weight, you're going to be looking good unconsciously. You don't even have to look in the mirror anymore. People will be telling you that. So try and let's approach it that way. You know, when it comes to weight training or body training, but gradually build it, gradually pace yourself. You know, naturally, you know, it takes time. I'm saying that because I'm just walking in from cycling outdoors, you know, and the things that I was doing on certain hills before, I'm not doing them right now because I took some time off. But then gradually, if I pace myself, I give myself a couple of weeks, you know, I get back up there, you know, because if I rush it, I realized my heart rate was just jumping up. I'm just pushing myself. That's the same thing. That's the same approach to every fitness routine. So gradually pace yourself. Get that muscle-mind connection. When you get that routine that you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Otherwise, my body's not responding. You know, automatically you just go in and you're doing it effortlessly. That's how you have to do it. And then when it comes to food, you walk into the house, automatically you are in the healthy section. You're picking organic stuff. You're picking this. You're not even looking at the other, because you don't want to know more. So let's just approach it that way. And then from then, we'll just start throwing in some other routines and stuff like that to see how we can advance our health and fitness lifestyle. So I'll give you those tips. I don't want to crowd you too much with too much information. So let's start off with this, and then we'll take it next week.
All right, thank you so much, Ed, for that comprehensive health and fitness update. We apologize sincerely for a little bit of the technical difficulty that we had during the show with the Facebook live feed. I think we have it up now. We're having a little challenge, and so. But thank you, Ed, so much for filling it for us.
Yes, thank you.
And
too.
so
And next week,
we're definitely going into
have
the
some more
program
good
this
stuff
evening. The Honorable Judge A. Seaton is in her seat, and we will go directly into the program this evening. How are you doing, Your Honor?
Oh, I'm fine. It's Judge Deborah A. Seaton.
Okay, Judge Deborah A. Seaton.
Yes.
Wonderful. Once again, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for a moment now, we been trying to get you here. We've been communicating back and forth. And finally, we have you. Can you please tell us exactly the organization that you are a judge at?
Well, actually, I was appointed by the Illinois Supreme Court as a judge in May of this year. Justice Mary Jane Tice was the person who moved me into the court. And because I was appointed by the Illinois Supreme Court, I now have to run to secure my seat.
Okay.
I am assigned right now to the traffic court and also to First Municipal, where I sit at 111th Street, 51st Street, Harrison and Kedzie, Grand and Central. I can be assigned anywhere throughout the county.
Absolutely. Now, forgive me, listeners. I know that we had a little shake-up for our program today, and so we were not able to bring you first of all, do the proper introduction of the Honorable here in our seat. Now, so I'm going to take the opportunity to I'll tell you a little bit. She's told you a little bit about herself. The judge has 30 years of trial experience in all types of legal matters, including traffic, from traffic to death penalty. She's a faculty member of the National Institute of Trial Advocacy, NITA. She is rated qualified and recommended by all bar associations. She's also rated well qualified by the league
Decalogue.
Okay. Decalogue Society of Lawyers. She's nominated as a fellow in Litigation Council of America. She's committed to community educational programs, the HS mock trials, and mentoring young adults. And I would like you to go a little bit into that after I've given the introduction. She's also has been a voice to the voiceless in our court. Now she will be a voice, or she's trying to ensure justice and fairness in our court. She believes in tempering justice with mercy. And so, as I stated, can you tell us a little bit about the Trials and Mentoring Young Adults Initiative or program?
Okay, first I have to qualify my ratings. Those ratings were when I went out for associate judge. I am now going out for a circuit court judge. And so I will be going through that process of rating again. With respect to the community, I have always believed that even as a lawyer, that our communities need to know the law. Our communities need to know their rights, and they need to know what to expect when they come into a courtroom. So many people do not understand the legal process, and as a result of that, many people feel like they have been denied justice. I believe that when you understand your rights and you understand the law better, you then can access a better opportunity to obtain justice.
Right.
As many people do not have legal assistance, and as a public defender, I was a public defender for many years. I was an advocate for people who could not speak for themselves, and I fought tenaciously as a defense attorney on behalf of many. And I now want to take some of that into the community in mentoring young people as well, those who have a desire to become lawyers or those who desire to go into higher levels of education. There needs to be some role models that can help them steer through the things that they don't understand or the potential obstacles that they may face.
Okay. Wow, wonderful. So we're going to be going through a couple of topics, and some of you are very passionate about, and which you also suggest that you wanted to speak on. And then we'll definitely go into your. I'm sure you want the campaign season, and we can talk about that sometime in the show. So we know traffic courts. In our community, we know. We know that there's a traffic court, and then there's child support, and we hear of these things, and some of our friends and our neighbors go through it. But the nitty-gritties of it, or the details of it, is what we don't understand.
Correct.
But before we come to that, though, we also know that in American, judicial system, there's something called a jury. Now, this is outside our conversation, but I would like you to educate us. Why do we need a jury after all? I mean, if there's a case, once the lawyers come and make their, submit their case, the judge should make the final decision. Why should we have a jury at all?
Well, the reason why we have a jury goes way, 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 way back into the Magna Carta, and is secured by our Constitution.
Okay.
Many people many times don't feel like one person, just the judge, sitting would be fair to them. And that's why we have a system where 12 people can hear their case. The 12 people from the community, chosen by them, their lawyer and the opposing lawyer. And then we also have 6-person juries in civil cases. So when, if you understand the history of the Magna Carta,
no, we don't.
There were people who believed that they could not get justice from their feudal lords. And a lot of it was over land and other issues. And so they wanted to have a jury of their peers, people who they thought could understand their circumstances and situations better and give them a fair shake in making a judgment on their case. So the Magna Carta actually derived a system where there could be people who would hear the complaints of their contemporaries, and so it was not just a king or someone who had superiority over them. Okay.
And in that case, can the judge overrule the decision of the jury?
Yes, in rare occasions. It's very rare. It's a judgment notwithstanding the verdict. And it's used very, very, very rarely. It's rarely used. Yes.
But majority of the time, what the jury decides on is final.
Yes.
And the judge
unless you take it up on appeal and an appellate court overrules the jury determination.
Absolutely. What is a traffic court?
Traffic court, well, we have them in several places. We have municipal districts, of which some have their own traffic court, but the largest traffic court is in Daly Center. We have the concourse level, we have the 4th floor, we have the lower level, and we hear hundreds upon hundreds of cases. We get the cases from O'Hare Airport and those that are all throughout the city. I think the biggest surprise that most people find when they come to traffic court is the amount of the mandatory fees and costs. For most tickets, if you plead guilty, there are mandatory fees and costs of $214. And that's not even the fine. Those are set by the legislature, and they have to be imposed upon any plea.
Okay. Wow. All right. What are some of the typical offenses? We know red light violation, speeding, and other things can land you in traffic court. But are there any other things that can land you in traffic court?
Yes, one of the number one things that can land you in traffic court is using your cell phone while driving. Failure to have your seatbelt on, improper lane usage, switching from lanes without signaling. And even one surprising thing is it's called obstruction of your view, where a lot of people have these air fresheners in the front of their car and they obstruct your view, and so many police officers give tickets for those.
Wow. For having an air freshener in your car,
Yes.
Well, if it's is big enough that can obstruct your view,
Yes.
The police can give you a ticket for that.
Yes, and actually the fines and fees would still be the $214.
Oh my gosh, that alone can land you in court.
Yes.
Now, can these offenses, we'll call them minor offenses, right? Traffic
Yes.
offenses, if they land you in court, does the proceedings at the end of the day have any effect on your immigration status, or if you're going to try?
Well, the petty offenses probably not, because the petty offenses, those are usually fine only. They are reported to the Secretary of State only if you have moving violations within 4 months. If you have no moving violations, they're not even reported to the Secretary of State. So those do not. But the ones that are deemed to be Class A misdemeanors, such as driving on a suspended license, the DUIs, the things like that, yes, those can affect immigration status.
Okay, DUI now can affect immigration status.
Yes.
But minor things like your tickets,
Not normally, no. Unless they have something to deal with dishonesty, like if someone tried to bribe a police officer to get out of a ticket, such as giving false identification, those would definitely affect your immigration status, even though they're traffic offenses.
Okay, and some of the minor ones, like minor accidents, which might not be your fault, and then maybe, let's say, within a year, you've had 3 traffic cases that are culpable or that qualify for you to be in court. Now, would those be anything? Would that affect your immigration status just because you've had too many, or maybe 3 or 4 traffic cases within a year? Is it possible that can affect you?
I think probably in this day and time, anything is possible, but if you have 2 supervisions, those are not going to be reported at all. So on the 3rd one, you're probably going to get a conviction, but unless it's a misdemeanor, it's probably not reported at all.
Okay.
It's a fine only.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about misdemeanor. Can you break it down? What's a misdemeanor and what's a felony?
Okay, so one of the lowest levels of criminal offenses that you can have are misdemeanors. They are Class A, Class B, and Class C. So the misdemeanors carry the Class A carries up to 364 days in Cook County Department of Corrections, so it's 1 day less than a year. And the others are lesser times, 180, 60 days. So those differ from felonies. Felony cases will land you in Illinois Department of Corrections, and they are always over a year's time.
Okay. So I wanted to give a typical example of what would be a Class A misdemeanor or Class B, C.
A Class A would be a battery. We don't do
fighting.
Yes, like fighting, but where there's pretty much little harm, because once you start going into serious harm and injury, you're talking about aggravated battery, which is a felony.
Okay.
And then if it's committed on a state official or a public employee, then it gets more enhanced.
Okay.
The penalties are enhanced.
Okay.
Class Bs we don't do a lot of. Class Cs would be some of the city ordinance cases, which most of the time when you go to court, you're dealing mainly with Class As. You get some sprinkling of Class Cs in there, but they're mainly Class As.
Class A. And so a typical Class C misdemeanor would be?
Oh, we don't do a lot of them. So it would probably be soliciting unlawful business could be one of them.
Okay.
Where you have officers who say that people are yelling out blows, and trying to engage in drug sales. There are some newer ones that are also linked to affiliations with known gang members. And then there's some other ones that I can't really think of now, like retail thefts under a certain amount are Class A misdemeanors. And we have, There's a lot of what they call deferred prosecutions where you can work off community service so that your case will be dismissed and you won't have a conviction.
Okay. So something as shoplifting can be classified as a Class C misdemeanor.
Class A.
Class
normally
A.
Class A.
Class A. Okay. The other, I mean, some time ago, I'd gone to the Secretary of State for a document, and I witnessed, a scene. There was a young man who was having a verbal altercation with a state officer, with a state trooper, and the F word kept coming out of the young man a lot of times, and I was wondering, wow. Well, I don't think he's supposed to be using that word to, law officer, right?
No, he's not.
Right. Okay. So he got a lot of warning from the state trooper. Hey, stop saying that. Stop saying that. He got I can tell, I can count at least 6 or 7 warnings to stop saying that. And eventually he kept saying it, and eventually he got arrested. In that what classification is that kind of offense?
Well, I don't know how he charged it.
Okay.
I really don't know how he charged it. I would have to know what the trooper charged, whether there was any obstruction of anything,
Right.
or whether he was just, he felt an assault, or it depends on a number of things. I mean, whether the trooper felt that he was being assaulted, or I don't know what charge the trooper charged him with, or he may not have even charged him. He may have just arrested him to have him have a cool down period,
Right.
and then let him go.
Let him go. In the normal sense, if one uses the F word, because the youth and a lot of people tend to use it a lot, and so if you're talking to a law enforcement personnel, or if you have that encounter and you use that word against the the officer, an officer or law enforcement personnel, what is that type of offense? Is it a misdemeanor, and what kind of class is it?
Well, it depends on how the officer charges it,
Okay.
again, because a lot of officers ignore the use of that word.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
the word itself usually escalates the situation into something else that either becomes an assault, a resisting arrest, or a battery.
Okay.
It usually, the use of the word alone normally does not get you arrested. It usually escalates into something else because either tempers flare, or the officer becomes feels like he's being disrespected. I mean, there are even people who will say things like that in court. And if they are said in court, usually the judge will warn them, and they can be held in contempt of court.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. Because what I was trying to establish is it at all, first of all, is it illegal to use that word? But from what you're saying, it depends on how the officer classifies it, or how the officer judges the situation.
Well, I actually think it has to be that word plus something else,
Okay.
because as vulgar as people can get, we still have free speech. And if you listen to some of the music, if just saying the word was a criminal act, there would be a lot of people arrested.
All right.
So-
All right. We're still in traffic court, talking to Judge Deborah A. Seaton. And it's been a wonderful discussion so far. We'll be shortly going for a musical break. But before we do that, we still want to continue with the conversation. If you're just tuning to this is the Progressive Mind Show at WGHC 98.3 FM. You can catch us live on Facebook. We do have some people on Facebook right now. Francis, Shinika is watching us, and so that is the judge's husband. And so, hey, sir, how you doing this evening? Thanks for watching. Please share the feed for us. And she's saying that okay. And then we have Gamali also watching. We have Prince Osei. Kofi Bosu is watching. Kofi Dosu. Roland Corte is watching. Dexter Abankwa just joined us. Joseph Awinoga is watching us. Thank you so much. He says, good job. Thank you, Joseph. Justin Deloney, she says, hey, Pastor Deborah, my spiritual mom. And then, and obviously, Daddy says, "Go, Judge Deborah."
So, okay, I just want to give a shout out to my husband, Francis Chinaka, who is Nigerian.
Okay.
And these shows mean a lot to us. I visited West Africa quite often.
Right.
And am acquainted with some of the struggles that not only African American people face, but also those who immigrate here to the U.S. And so I have personal experience with with personal knowledge with some of the struggles.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And as I already apologize to our listeners, we should have gotten that out of the way from the onset, but we had a little shake up before the start of the show, and so that skipped me. And so thank you for chipping that in. Our listeners can definitely relate to that. And so if my producer is ready, we'll go for one musical break. When we'll come back, we will continue with the conversation with the Judge Deborah A. Seaton, who is a Democrat Cook County second sub-circuit judge. All right, so please stay tuned. We shall be right back.
Let's go! Above every other name, oh, what can't you change? What can't you change? Jesus. Tonight we celebrate God. Come on, Jesus. Creator of the universe. What can't you do? What can't you do? What can't you do? Jesus. Name above every other name. What can't you change? What can't you change? Jesus. Lift your hands, say you are able. Great and mighty. Great and mighty God. You are able, Jesus. Lift it up and say, there is nothing you cannot do, nothing you cannot change, nothing you cannot turn around. You are able, great and mighty God. I put my trust in you. You are able, Jesus. We love to sing about our God. Come on, put your hands together. Say, put those hands together. Let us shoot with a heart. Jesus, Creator of the universe. What can't you do? What can't you do? What can't you do? Jesus, you're the name above every other name.
Welcome back to the show. This is your host, Senna, and we are talking to Judge Deborah A. Seaton. And we have been talking about, we discussed a little bit about the general judicial system in the country and what the jury system means, and some of the issues that can land you in traffic courts, what traffic court is, what that is in itself, and some of the minor things that can land you there, and how it can affect some of them can affect your immigration status. You can in a few minutes I'll be giving you the phone line, so you can ring in and ask your questions if you have any. Judge, please tell us, in carrying out your duty, first of all, looks like from what you do, people's life or people's fate are, basically in your hands. You decide people's fate. And so what is the thing that drives you, that keeps you going to the bench to execute your day-to-day, knowing that people's lives are in your hands, basically?
Well, for me, I think it's my relationship with God as a Christian. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. And if you really believe that, and if you really see yourself as having to answer to a higher person than yourself, then you're going to really take time to try to balance the scales when you're making your decision. I think that relationship helps me to not lose my cool, because as people come to court and they approach the bench, you would be amazed at the attitudes that people have toward judges, toward the legal system, toward police officers. People have really come in my court at times, even in traffic cases, and have always most wanted to go off on the police officers. And I will tell them and I will correct them and say, in my court, we are going to respect everyone. Just as I'm going to have these officers respect you, you are going to have to respect these officers in my courtroom. I've had people try to flip off on the officers. I had one person who actually approached an officer and was going off on the officer. I had to stop that. But my passion has always been justice. Even from being a little girl, I've always had an innate sense of wanting to do the right thing and wanting to be fair.
Wow, that's beautiful, and that's very profound to hear. What are any individual's rights in the traffic court? Like, what are your rights?
Well, if you have a petty offense, you really just have a right to have a trial, which you have a right to ask questions of the officer, because the city attorney will always put the police officer on. The police officer will say what happened. Then the defendant will have an opportunity to ask questions, which most of the time they don't ask questions. They make statements, or they try to tell their story to make the officer agree with them, which most of the time the officer is not going to agree with you, because if he did, he wouldn't have given you the ticket. Right. So they have an opportunity to ask questions, and then they tell their story, and then I listen to both and I weigh it, but I always go back to the statute. Whatever the ticket was written for, I first of all look at what the citation, the ordinance says that has to be proven. And once I look at the statute, if the city has not met that, then it's going to be a finding of not guilty. But some people actually go to trial and actually end up admitting their guilt while they're testifying. So once they do that, you have no choice but to find them guilty.
Right. So it's prudent to just probably narrate what happened during during the incident, and not necessarily plead guilty during your statement. Right.
Well, a lot of times when a ticket is going to be dismissed because the officer is not in court, I have to caution people, don't say anything. Let the city make their motion, because most of the times they're getting ready to say something that's going to hurt them, right? And the city is getting ready to dismiss their ticket, and they're getting ready to make an admission. So I say, let the city speak, and most of the time there's a dismissal coming. But a lot of times people just come in and they just blurt out, and I slow them down, because that's why you have to know legal process. You've got to know, yes, you have a right to talk, but you got to know when you should be speaking and when you should not. Absolutely.
And this is very good advice. And since we are not, very vexed in the law, or most of us are now lawyers, the best thing we can do to help ourselves is, if you go to... Listen and just not talk.
Listen.
Okay.
I think listening, when people come into my court, a lot of times they just are so into talking that they don't even hear what the court is saying to them. We call this selective hearing. People hear what they want to hear, but they don't hear sometimes the main things that they need to hear. I just say people should be respectful when they come into a court, because a lot of times a judge has discretion. When they're like right in the middle, your attitude could push them to the other end. When they have a call that's right in the middle where they could go either way, a lot of times people's attitude can, it just can show. The officer can say, when I saw them, they were rude, they were cursing, they were doing, well, if you're rude and cursing to the court, then it's going to make the officer's version more believable. So we need to have respect when we come into court.
Absolutely. I was just going to that question. I was just going to that to say that does other factors, have any influence on your decision, or do you just base your decision on fact, and you just stated that attitude also goes along with?
Well, attitude goes toward credibility, because you're always weighing the credibility of the police officer, you're weighing the credibility of the defendant, and attitude goes toward credibility. I mean, you can have nasty police officers too. So it works both ways. Credibility, do I believe you? And your behavior contributes toward believability.
Okay. And appearance, does your appearance at all have any influence, like the way you dress to the court? Do you have to dress a certain way? Do you have to look formal, or just people just wake up in their pajamas and just go to the court?
Well, actually, you just said something that is very true. Some people do come to court in their pajamas, and I almost had to send a person home, 2 people. One woman who had on a T-shirt top with no bra. And that is not what you want to present in court. And then a young man who had on a T-shirt, but it was so thin that it was like he just rolled out of bed. And then we have the young men who want to walk into court with their pants down, with their butt hanging out, which in my courtroom you cannot do. I'm going to tell you to pull up your pants.
Wow. An incident happened a couple of weeks ago, and we'll just be the last one, and then we can go to our next topic. Someone got assaulted. Some friends. He was telling me a story that he got assaulted in his car. The guy threw his hand. He hit him. Whilst he was sitting in his car, and then he parked the car. There was traffic, so he couldn't do anything, and the aggressor hit him. And whilst the aggressor had hit him, he was still standing there being vulgar. So he parked his car and came out of the car and went to his trunk and pulled up a rifle, which he is licensed to carry. Now, had he had done something, had he had, fired at the aggressor, would that have been classified as self-defense?
Well, I can't answer that question. Okay. As a judge, you cannot answer specific fact pattern questions. Okay. I only can give what the law is and present that. He would have to, if he goes to trial, he would have to make a showing that the incident was self-defense in order to use the self-defense because you can't automatically just assert a defense. There's certain standards that you have to or evidence that you have to lay out in order to use certain defenses. So I can't answer that specific situation, but if he had facts that could rise to the level of showing self-defense, then the court would have to consider it.
Okay, great. Then last question. If someone provokes you and you hit the person in the face, that is classified as a Class A misdemeanor. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the damage that was done by the hit, because if you hit a person in the face and you broke their bones, that could rise to the level of an aggravated battery.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Our next topic would be the issue of child support. A lot of our friends are going through that situation at the moment, and so it's interesting that it's interesting what you hear and what some of our friends and our people in our community are going through with regards to this. And so we will discuss this when we come back for a musical break. If my producer is ready, we will do that. In the meantime, whilst he's getting ready, if you are looking for a place, if you are looking to get a home, or if you are ready to buy a home, or if you are in dilemma, you are still thinking about it, there are two fine gentlemen in our community that I would recommend to you any day, and anybody in the community will also recommend to you. David Kwame Ziga is a realtor and has access to, and he works with Kale Realty. And so if you need any questions regarding a home, or you are looking, he'll be the guy for you. He'll be the guy for you to speak with. His number is 773-409-5073. And then if you need a mortgage specialist who can run your numbers and work with you with passion, and not just be looking for his cut or his 10% or 5%, another fine gentleman who does his work with the conviction of God, with a passion for people, is Boatin Ashia. His office number is 847-483-5372. Cell number is 773-620-9855. You want to contact this gentleman to help with your mortgage issues and your home financing issues. This Saturday, the GNPA, the Ghanaian North American Professional Association, are organizing a back-to-school program at 61st and Stony Island. This is a program to help kids to get the supplies they need to go back to school. So if you do not have plans, if you do not have plans this weekend, please stop by 61st and Stony for this wonderful barbecue event. You can also use that as an opportunity to network and so forth. My producer seems to be ready, so we'll go for this musical break. When we come back, we'll continue with the show. This is Senna, you're the Progressive Show. Please stay
God now, I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. Guru Guru Beche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Beche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Beche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Beche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah, hallelujah. This ain't lucky, no. Can't you see the hand of heaven is upon me? This ain't lottery, no. This is 40 days and 40 nights. Sick and you shall find. I say more muscle to your hustle, more butter to your bubble, more blessing to the talika. May God give you all the barika. More muscle to your hustle, more butter to your bubble, more blessing to the talika. May God give you all the barika. I was lost inside the desert, vultures circling round my head, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now, I made it out of there. Guru Guru Meche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meche Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I see clearly now. Sun's outside and my night has turned to day. I see clearly now. I used to be lost and God showed me the way. I see clearly now. All I see is blessings every time I look back. I see clearly now. Oh, hallelujah, meje baba mojuba. Guru Guru meje leshe, I am a hallelujah. Guru Guru meje leshe, I meje leshe ya mefa hallelujah. Guru guru meje leshe ya mefa hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Welcome back to the show. It is the Progressive Minds. It's the #1 community building show in the entire Midwest, and we are glad that you have tuned in tonight to contribute to this wonderful program. We're speaking to the Honorable Judge Deborah A. Seaton, and she has been giving us critical information regarding the traffic courts, and we'll be speaking shortly to her regarding issue of child support and how it affects us. Before we continue with the program this evening, I want to remind our listeners, Facebook Live, folks watching us live on Facebook, please keep sharing the feed so that our friends and your friends can participate and benefit from what we are discussing today. And a few shout outs to Charles Old School. Hey, my brother, Charlie, what's up? God bless you for chiming in. Francis Shinika is still online with us. God bless you, sir. Joe Owusu, of course, it's self-defense. Okay. All right. Justin Deloney still here with us, and he's saying awesome. He says, I agree. He says being respectful counts, and he says awesome. He's been contributing so much. Thank you so much, Justin Deloney. And then the other folks watching us, thank you so much for chiming in. Please share the feed, okay? There are other folks who can benefit from this, and so please keep sharing the feed for us. Also, a quick announcement that WGHC website is functioning completely fine, okay? If you go on there now, you can listen to us live and check us out. It's still in the works. We're still trying to improve on some of the things on there and make so we can make it more functional and all of that. And that's why we keep asking for your donations and your support so we can keep up with some of these operations to meet your specifications and your standards. Currently, the donate link is going a little bit of construction. Is going through a little bit of construction. We're trying to tweak it so we can accept your your Visa and your MasterCards and so forth. So in the meantime, if you go on there and you're not able to use it, we please send an email to 98.3 FM 98.3 FM WGHC at gmail.com. Okay, this is a little tricky, but I'll repeat it just so you get it right. It's 98.3 FM WGHC at gmail.com. Okay, when you send an email here, we will send you a link, okay, so that you can make payments. We want to make sure that your payment is secured. So in the absence of our donate button not working, donate link not working on our website, when I give you this secured email, send an email to us. We would respond to your email, then use that link to make any contribution donations that you want to send to us, which is also tax deductible, so you can help us do this, continue with this good job that we are doing for the community. Alternatively, the number to ring in to make a donation or contribution to us is 773-829-1032. 773-829-1032. Okay, okay. All right. My producer wants me to take a quick break. When we come back, we would continue with the Progressive Live show.
I was lost inside the desert fortress, circling round my head, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. I was just another sheep inside the belly of the beast, but thanks to God now I made it out of there. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah. Guru Guru Meje Leshe, I am a farm, hallelujah, hallelujah. Sing lucky now. can't you see the hand of heaven is upon me?
All right, that was just a short break so we can get things sorted out here. My producer just informed me that there's something in the works, which is called the WGHC Block Party, happening here at Wilson and Broadway. If you don't know our location, the address is 4554 North Broadway Avenue. And so we are going to be having this block party. We will be, stay tuned, we'll be giving you the exact date. The purpose for this block party is to have you bring your clean winter clothes and shoes to help some of the homeless folks around here, some of the needy in our community. This is what we stand for. WJC, it's all about the community and building ourselves. So please keep tuned in. For more information, you can reach out to the WGHC team. Number to ring is the 773-829-1032. You can call the or go to our Facebook page, and or you can also send information to send your request more information or ask for more details at info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. The number again is 773-829-1032. So watch out for the upcoming block party, which is a project for your used but clean clothes. Okay, used but clean winter clothes and shoes, which canned food, whatever that you have that will be beneficial to the needy out there. Please bring it to the block party. Stay tuned for more details. All right. Okay. So we'll go straight into the conversation with Judge Seaton. How do the courts determine how much you should pay for child support?
Well, I'm not a child support judge, but this year the way that child support is calculated changed. It changed, I believe, July 1st, and now they follow what they call a shared income model. It used to be that only one of the parents' income was taken into account. That was the parent who did not have the child, and that is the parent who ended up paying the child support. But now the new formula takes into account the income of both parents, and they use these actuarial type tables to find out the type of where the income should be for a certain number of children. One of the things that has changed that would benefit the non-custodial parent is that you get credit for the time you spend with your child. That never used to be calculated into the formula, but now it's calculated into the formula. So those who don't have the child, if they spend more time with the child, that time that they spend is actually calculated into the formula for which they will pay child support.
Okay. And what are the options if one is not able to pay? Because folks, a lot of guys are going through, hard times, or they lose their job, and they're willing to pay, but they just simply cannot afford it. What are some of the options?
Well, as I said again, I'm not a child support judge, so, but I do know that you would have to keep petitioning the court, because what happens, why a lot of men get behind in child support, is that they fail to go to court when they get the notice regarding their child support. And so many times there are orders entered that the man has no idea that have been ordered, and then lo and behold, he gets 90 days behind in child support, and then his license is suspended. There's something called the Family Financial Responsibility Act, which acts in concert with the Illinois Secretary of State, that when you fall behind in child support for more than 90 days, your driver's license can be suspended.
Oh, okay. That's good information out there. So, folks, please take note. Make sure you're not falling behind, because after 90 days, you'll be driving and you just might get pulled over, and it would be because your driver's license has been suspended because you missed out on 90 days. So please make sure you are not missing out. And if you miss out, You stated
There are ways that you can ask for a hardship license to be able to drive,
Okay.
to go to work.
Okay.
So there are ways to deal with this, but what I find is that most people don't want to deal with it, so they just ignore the notices, and then things just keep piling up. And we've had people come to traffic court on driving while license suspended, and they're $20,000, $10,000, $6,000 behind in child support.
Wow.
So that you would have to ignore for some time.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I know you are not a child support judge, but just in case, can this situation land you in jail? Like your delinquency with child support land you in jail?
Well, it's they used to do, and I don't know if they do it now, but they used to have these body attachment warrants when men did not come to child support court, and they kept ignoring the court's order. There would be a body attachment, which is in the nature of a warrant, and they would have to come to court to answer to the court as to why they had not come to court.
Right.
That's why we cannot ignore subpoenas. When you get a subpoena, you don't want to ignore it, especially if you've signed for it, that they have service on you. Because once they have service on you, if you sign for it, or someone who is 14 years or older in your household has signed for it, and they have personal service on you, many things can happen in court without you being there.
What is personal service?
Well, when you want to serve someone as a subpoena, personal service is a deputy sheriff or an investigator or someone coming to you and personally serving you with the document.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. We have been talking to Judge Seaton. If you just joined in, the number to ring in to make any contribution or to ask questions is 773-942-7167. The phone lines are open, and so please ring in and ask your questions. It's 773-942-7167.
There's one thing before we take calls that I really want to stress. A lot of people don't know this, and it has to do with insurance for your car. Many people come to court and they've gotten a no insurance ticket, and the first thing they say, well, it's not my car. Well, in Illinois, it doesn't have to be your car. Either the car has to be insured, or you have to have SR22 insurance, which follows you everywhere you go when you get into a car. Many people come in and they say that, and I tell them that's not a defense under the law. And many people also don't know the amount of the fine for no insurance. If you have no insurance, the fine is $515 plus the $214 in mandatory fees and costs. If after you get the ticket, you go out and get SR22, the fine drops from $515 to $100 plus the $214. And you can work off the $100 for 8 hours of community service, and so you would then just have the $214. But there's one more alarming thing that most people do not know. Do not let anyone drive your car when their license is suspended, because if a person is pulled over and their license is suspended and there is no insurance on the car is automatically by law impounded.
Okay. So essentially, if you do not own your own car, but you happen to once in a while drive your cousin or your friend's car, what you should personally do is, as that individual who do not have a car but has the potential of driving someone's car, is to go get SR22 insurance. That
way you're always safe, or anytime you get in someone's car, you need to make sure their car is insured or you have insurance. It's not an excuse that it's not your car.
Right. But if a cousin or a friend or a brother comes to me and say, hey, can I drive your car here? Okay, you check his license, his or her license, and you see it. How would you know? You cannot know if it's suspended or not.
No, you would not, but
Right.
they should know. But that's the danger.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, people don't understand that failures to appear in court form the basis of a suspension of your license.
Okay.
After you reach a certain number of failures to appear in court,
Mm-hmm.
the Secretary of State can suspend your license for not coming to court.
Okay.
A lot of people don't understand that. That's why it's important that you go to court.
Okay. And it's also important that you know who is driving your car.
Exactly.
And for those of you who go to use people's car, please declare if your license has been suspended or not. But it can also be a genuine mistake, because for all you know, the person does not even know that your license is suspended.
That's correct. However, though, even if it's a genuine mistake and their license is suspended, if you don't have insurance on that car, it's going to be impounded. And most of the time, people do not go and get their car right away. And by the time the bill has racked up, it's in the thousands.
Okay. All right. The number again to ring in to make a contribution or ask a question is 773-942-7167. And please keep sharing the feed. Someone is asking a question. He says, he says he's contesting a ticket tomorrow. He says he hopes he can get himself sorted out. Well, if you have a specific question regarding what to say, what not to say, or regarding your meeting tomorrow, the judge is here. Should be more than happy to answer your question. George Esiedu Kweku Asamoah, you just joined in the conversation. Please keep sharing the feed so that our community and your friends and others can also participate in our conversation. We have been speaking this evening to Judge Deborah A. Seaton. Looks like we have a caller on the line. Please go ahead with your name and where you're calling from. Hello, caller. Yes, please go. Please. Okay, I think we lost the caller. Sorry about that. Please keep the calls coming in. It's 773-942-7167. If you had any issues, looks like we have another caller on the line. Please go ahead with your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, yes, sir. My name is Comline. I'm calling right here from Chicago.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I do have some two questions about the cameos. My first question goes to instances, for example, what we just discovered in Ferguson, in Missouri, that giving tickets to especially some ethnic race in the community is kind of an centralized, organized system.
Can you hear?
Now, how then do we resolve some of those things? Because we realize that the Justice Department came to do their investigation. They find out that, yes, that was a reality that exists. Either in a society we are living, how then do we resolve some of those issues?
Okay, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
My first question goes into, I was asking that in a society, for instance, in the issue of Ferguson, where the Justice Department discovered that it was a centralized thing, that tickets are being issued or targeted to a specific race in a community.
Okay, I as a judge can't speak specifically to that instance, but I can say that we have to have people who are involved in the community, involved with like the CAPS program, where you have community policing. There has to be an intersection between community and police in order to have a more trusting relationship and atmosphere. You also have to have relationship with those who make laws, those who our legislature, because many times the legislators need to know what's going on in the community. Everything is pretty much in order to have a peaceful resolution, there's going to have to be a joint venture of some type, not segmented approaches. And I think that's what's happening in our society today. We see more segmented approaches. No one wants to really intersect with one another and try to resolve issues. And frustration has boiled over in our communities. We even see this in the court. Some people come to court so angry, they use their court appearance to vent at everyone, including the judges, because they're just tired and they don't see meaningful solutions. But I believe that if we would continue to persist, because these things are layered. There are many layered issues that keep coming on top of one another, and we have to really dialogue to get to the bottom of some of these issues, and we have to stand together in our communities and educate our communities, let our communities know what is going on. And I think sometimes the way we approach issues sometimes shuts us down before we're fully heard. Because no one wants to kind of listen to the yelling, screaming man. But presentation is important. And I do understand that many in society have gotten frustrated, but presentation does mean something because it gets you farther in the door, and the door doesn't get closed on us.
Yeah, for instance, in Florida, we saw on the news recently the judge said all African Americans should be taken back to Africa, and which brought some kind of strife in the community. So when a sitting judge should make such a statement, we wonder where we are. What are we even fighting for?
But we have bodies that are in place to deal with ethical, moral issues that are improper. So I can't comment on what that judge did, but if any judge makes a comment that is improper, we do have the judicial inquiry boards that take up complaints about matters. And so you're not left without a remedy. There's a body that looks into the conduct of judges.
Well, Kamala, I guess your questions have been answered by the Honorable Judge.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so
very
much. Thank you so much for your call. Please keep the calls coming in, 773-942-7167. 773-942-7167. Salasi, Elliot, Amekuji, and Jeanette Pini Lai just joined the conversation. Thank you so much. Please share the feed for us and share the feed for us so our friends can also participate and benefit from this conversation. Someone says that with all this great information, he should be able to get himself sorted out at court tomorrow. All right, so we will definitely we'll definitely help. Yeah, you sharing the feed will definitely help someone else. Obviously, if you are benefiting already, or if you've gotten some information, we're sure that our community can also benefit. So please keep sharing the information for us. Also want to keep reminding our listeners that the WGHC FM website is having a little issue with the donate button. Okay, it's just the donate button. And so if you want to make a contribution, monetary contribution to us, please send an email to 98.3fm wghc@gmail.com, and we will send you a secured email to which you can make your payments or donations to us. Alternatively, call 773-829-1032. 773-829-1032. That is if you want to make a payment to us, okay? And remember that all donations and contributions are tax deductible. Coming Saturday, if you don't have plans, as I stated earlier, the GNPA Ghana North North America Professionals Association are organizing a barbecue at 61st and Stony. It's a back-to-school program in aid of helping young people to get school supplies and so forth. So make a date with them and have some fun, eat some food, and network as well. Also want to remind our listeners that if you are in the process of buying a home and or are looking for, you can contact David Kwame Ziga, who is the president of the GNPA Association. His cell phone number is 773-403-5073. 773-403-5073. And Mr. Boateng Ashia is a mortgage specialist at Wintrust. He would help you with all the loan questions, and if you need to apply for a loan, he's definitely more than happy to help you with that. And his number is 773-620-9855. All right, we will continue our conversation with Deborah A. Seaton. What's the situation with, let's say, an illegal immigrant, okay, or even folks on green card and so forth? If there's a traffic issue or they have a traffic court case, is there a need for them to have both immigration lawyers and criminal lawyers?
Well, it's
illegal immigrants.
It's a little bit difficult to answer because not knowing what their traffic matter is, it is always good to go to a lawyer who specializes in the area in which you need help.
Okay.
I think one challenge that some people have is they think that one lawyer knows all areas of law,
right? And
they don't.
Okay.
An immigration lawyer is going to know what pertains to immigration, and then a traffic and criminal defense lawyer is going to know about that. Sometimes criminal lawyers do know a little bit about immigration because it affects their clients to a degree, but it's always smart if you are in doubt about anything to ask somebody who has expertise in that field.
Okay. If a case is dismissed, simply is dismissed. Is there any technical meaning to a dismissed case, or it's just it's dismissed? You don't have anything to do. You don't have to show up in court. It's not going to affect your credit or your records.
Well, that's really too broad of a question because it depends on what type of cases you're talking about. I mean, when you're
traffic court case.
Oh, in traffic court.
Yes.
Well, it depends. If it's just dismissed, then it's dismissed.
It's dismissed. Okay.
Yes, it's dismissed. It's not going to go on your record. It's not going to be brought up again. Not normally. Not in normal circumstances.
Right. Because a lot of times people are skeptical about it. Okay, I went to court, some years ago. Because usually, we do run into some of these issues as immigrants. We have to take our time to get abreast with the laws. And there are so many rules and regulations in every sphere of life. And so sometimes people run into mistakes of genuine mistakes. And so the skepticism is that, okay, when I happen to file my naturalization, would these traffic courts that I have been to, affect my application? So people think about that in that.
But I think that you would have to talk to an immigration lawyer because, it depends. Like DUIs can. They can affect immigration status. And then you have the issue of supervision because some people say their case was dismissed, but they were put on supervision. It's a difference between being placed on court supervision versus a dismissal. A dismissal is just an outright throwing out of the case. There's no supervision, there's no fine, there's no attachment of court jurisdiction to you. When you get supervision, however, you come under the jurisdiction of the court for whatever length of time that supervision is for. And so those are a little bit different. Those are handled differently by immigration, and you would need to contact an immigration lawyer if you've had supervision on issues. And then many people don't follow up with expungements, because we have the expungement system that when you get a supervision, you can expunge matters. But the trick with that is that some expungements you have to wait a 2-year period for, and actually those laws are changing toward automatic expungements. I believe there's some legislative officials who are trying to introduce laws where certain things will have automatic expungements, and so that will be helpful to a lot of people.
Okay, great. So I think the sensible or the wise thing to do is, hey, just get an immigration lawyer. Speak to him and what your options are, and actually, get their services to advise you exactly what to do before you even try the naturalization application process. And there
are free legal services, some of which who deal with immigration.
Okay, with the county?
Well, I don't think they're county. They're probably not-for-profits that help. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but I do know some exist.
Okay, right. Please so just look them up. Free non-for-profit or free immigration lawyers. I'm sure some will come up. There are organizations in the community who do that. In the days to come, we'll be speaking to some of them, to some of these specific organizations, to enlighten us more on some of these immigration and its related issues. All right. But now we would want to take one musical break, as my producer is ready, and then we'll come back and continue with the discussion this evening. You are logged on to WGHC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This is the only African radio station in the entire Midwest with a dial. It's 98.3 FM. And so if you don't know, now you know. Right now we are 8x8, God willing, and we are praying very hard to go 20 miles and more. So that folks in the suburbs can just tune in and dial in. Yeah. Right. So gradually, we are trying to build our community. And so with the help of our friends and some of the new friends we are making in the person of the Honorable Judge and some of his network, hopefully we can get some support and move it to the direction which we want to. And I'm glad that, and I'll give some time to talk about your African experience. You've traveled to Ghana, Nigeria, so she knows our community, okay? She's she's married to a person from our community, a Nigerian, a fine man, a fine Nigerian man. And so she eats our food and all that. Jollof.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but jollof, right?
Fufu I don't like.
How about jollof?
Yes.
Have you heard of the famous competition between the Nigerian and Ghanaian jollof?
No.
You haven't heard about? Okay, we'll go into that. August 26th, yes, it's coming on. We'll tell you more about that.
Wow.
Okay, if my producer is ready, we'll come back to continue with the conversation. Stay logged on to WGAT. This is the Progressive Mind Show with your host, Senna.
Ongezi mbate
Hello, people. You wonderful. You are okay. I was gonna say you are wonderful. Yes, you are wonderful, and thank you for tuning in up until now. I know some of you in the East Coast area. It's about 10:34, almost to 11, and those of you who are 2 hours and 6 hours ahead of us, and you're still chiming into this program. We are so much appreciative of your time. It will never go wasted because the information we're sharing now is very vital, and today and tomorrow will be useful for us and our community. So we are so appreciative of you, and you're welcome back to the Progressive Mind Show here at WGHC 98.3 FM. We have been talking to Judge Deborah A. Seaton, and she's been sharing wonderful information. In a few moments, we'll go into some personal stuff, but we'll wrap up. We have exhausted most of the things I want to talk about today regarding immigration cases. Things that can affect our immigration status or immigration applications, and that has any linkage with traffic court issues. And we've also spoken about child support issues and the repercussions if you miss out on them. The number to ring in to ask questions, 773-942-7167. Okay, so are there any issues, or are there any particular types of criminal cases that can affect one's status? When it comes to traffic court. So if you just have maybe you had a small minor traffic issue and you appear in court, now as a judge, do you only look at that specific traffic minor case, or you are looking at the holistic view of the person's criminal background?
Well, when a person appears before the court, we don't really go into their immigration status except when they're entering a plea of guilty. If you enter a plea of guilty, you are asked if you are a United States citizen, and if you say no, then the court has a duty to inform you that your plea of guilty could affect deportation proceedings and your immigration status.
Okay.
The court doesn't go any further besides warning you that it could affect it. But the court doesn't really go farther into your background.
Okay.
You know, the law with respect to immigration has certain definitions, how they define the type of crimes that affect immigration status. Those, they say, that are of moral turpitude and crimes that involve dishonesty are high up on the list. I mean, some people think, oh, it's a retail theft. But retail thefts, under the definitions of the immigration laws, can affect immigration status, just like anything that involves falsity or something that is of, they say, moral turpitude. So those things they do look at. But the court itself does not go that deep except to warn you that a plea of guilty to certain offenses can affect your status. I know when we do, it's called 402 admonishments. When you are admonished concerning your plea, especially like when you're doing a DUI, you are admonished that it could affect. When you're doing driving while license suspended, you are admonished. In all Class A misdemeanors, you are admonished as to that.
If you're a green card holder, or not, and you have you appear in court for any reason, Now, based on your case, is there a possibility that you can still be you can be deported?
Well, see, the court doesn't look at green card status. I mean, when you appear, if you come to traffic court, the court is not going to ask you what your status is.
They don't look at that.
They do not for a petty offense. They're not. Now, if you're represented by counsel on a misdemeanor, that counsel may advise the client or tell the court, I have talked to the client about his immigration status and that this case may affect him. So that will be put on the record. And so the court then becomes aware. But the court doesn't make inquiry in traffic court as to what your status is.
Oh, okay. Or if,
not for petty offenses.
Not for petty offenses. But in some cases, if it's a serious case, okay. I just want to know if you have a Class A misdemeanor or a serious case and you appear there, is there a chance that even though you're a green card holder, you could still stand a chance of being deported?
See, as a judge, I can't answer that question because the jurisdiction that a judge would have in traffic court is separate and apart from immigration. Immigration has its own laws. Immigration laws are generally federal, whereas these are state laws. And the immigration code has definitive codes in how they define things, interpret things, and we have really no jurisdiction with respect to immigration.
Brilliant. Okay. Well said. You have given us a lot of information regarding our traffic court cases, child support, how to carry yourself, how your attitude in court, and so forth, how they affect you, and so forth. And we appreciate it. Tell us, we want to go a little bit into, who you are. We want to know you more. We know you're married to one of our brothers.
A wonderful Nigerian man, yes, named Francis.
And you said you've been to Africa. Tell us your experience.
Oh, wow. I've been to Africa numerous times. I've been to Ghana, Ethiopia, Kenya, Liberia, Nigeria. I've been to South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg, Durban. I've been quite a few places. Okay. Even apart from Africa, I've been to Jerusalem, Bulgaria. Because I used to love traveling. It was my hobby.
Okay. Yes. In all those places, which of them have you stayed longer?
Well, the longest place I've ever stayed was in Accra, Ghana. I stayed there 5 weeks.
All right. What made you stay that long?
I was at I was visiting a mentor, and he was having a training there, and then I was just with friends, and I just stayed 5 weeks.
Did you love it?
Yeah, I did.
What was your favorite food there?
You told me the name of it, but it's the black-eyed peas that are baked in the rice. I love that. I love that.
It's called wache. And you said you also love the jollof.
Yeah, and I love I'm sorry, Nigerians, I love the Ghanaian jollof over the Nigerian jollof.
Enough said. The competition between Niger and Ghana, the jollof competition between Niger and Ghana has been settled today. Ghana won, simple, hands down. Ghana jollof all the way. And so, wow, that's wonderful. We also know that currently you are running for second term?
No, okay. I was appointed by the Illinois Supreme Court in May.
Okay.
So that was to fill a vacancy of another judge who retired.
Okay.
So now, anytime a judge fills a vacancy, they then have to run on their own. So in the upcoming March election, my name will be on the ballot. We start the process next month. Many people will be out saying, would you sign this petition for Deborah Seaton to put her name on the ballot? So we have to gather petitions, and then after we gather the petitions, we submit them to the Board of Elections, and hopefully we will not be challenged, and we will get on the ballot. We will get a punch number, and then people will be asked to vote for me to keep my seat on the bench. And one of the reasons why I say that is not because I feel entitled. I believe that I am qualified. I've had many years of experience doing work in the trenches, not just on the sidelines, but really representing people in hard places, in hard cases, and in both private practice and as a public defender. I've really, really fought for justice and always sought to balance, even when there were victims. In one of the cases I had, there were a lot of victims involved, and even being concerned about my presentation in court, I wanted to have a certain level of dignity and respect for the victims that were in the case.
Right.
Because when you balance the scales of justice, it's not just pro-defense, it's balancing the rights of victims as well as defendants and treating both with justice so both can feel like they have their day in court. So I'm asking people to remember the name of Seaton, Judge Deborah Seaton. Keep Seaton's seat on the bench. If you're in the second sub-circuit, which is on the south side, it's Bremen Township, Thornton Township, part of Rich Township, part of Bloom Township. It's the 21st, 34th, 9th, part of the 19th wards, part of 10th wards in Chicago. Look for the name of Deborah Seaton. You can also look to volunteer. We'll have more information about how you can volunteer for my campaign. You can distribute literature. You can do other things to help with the campaign, work on election day, and get my name out. Keep Deborah Seaton's seat on the bench.
Absolutely. There are a lot of information, some feedback we're getting here, and I want our listeners to hear about it. So Devarian B.O. Harvey is saying, you are the hardest working judge in Chicago. He knows. And that is a very great, a good recommendation here and a good remark. And so we wanted our listeners to be aware of that, that you are the hardest working judge. Definitely he knows you. So,
yes, he does.
Yeah, so he appreciates your work. Devarian, in that case, please share the feed so that folks can also listen to her and benefit from this program this evening. And then Hubby is saying that if your life in Cook County Second Sub Circuit, remember to sign petition for Judge Deborah A. Seaton beginning September and vote in February and March 2018. I was going to ask you the exact date.
Early voting starts in February and it ends March 19th, but the election is on, the general election, or it's the primary, is on March 20th, 2018.
Okay.
So we need you to go out and vote.
Okay.
Those who can vote, please go out and vote and encourage people to vote.
Okay.
You are much more likely to meet a judge before you meet a governor or a mayor.
Right.
And this is going to be a big gubernatorial election. We ask you to go all the way down to the bottom of the ballot because judges are all the way down at the bottom.
Okay.
Make sure you don't give up and say, oh, I'm tired. No, go to the bottom of the ballot and vote for judges because they're either going to have an impact on your life, your family member's life, or someone you know, and you want fair and impartial judges on the bench who can even understand your experience because experience travels with a person and it also affects decision making. So we want you to vote for the judges.
Okay. Richard Agbesi just joined in. Dominic Grant and folks are also watching. I hope you are benefiting from this program this evening. Please share the feed for us. We have a question here which I wanted to go through real quick. So you can answer for us. So Gamali Dakai, which is my wife, she's asking, she says, thank you, Judge, for being on the show. Are there any organizations, listeners, are there any organizations that listeners should be aware of specifically for our youth in an effort to keep them out of jail, out of court /jail / prison system? I don't know if you
Well,
understand
there are, and I don't have the names with me. I could probably send that back to you, and you can make an announcement about that. But I know the University of Chicago has a juvenile program. There are some juvenile programs that are designed to try to keep youth out of jail, and there are also some youth programs to try to educate our youth so that they can stay on the right path. And one of the things that is happening in Chicago that is really good, we're starting to have community justice programs. There's one in North Lawndale where it's a different approach to dealing with minor criminal offenses, and it is taken off, and restorative justice, community justice type programs, they're springing up in Chicago, and it's working. I mean, when people have hope, they seemingly do better.
Absolutely.
And so I want to end with this one thing, if I could.
Yes, please.
Please keep your insurance cards on you. Take a picture of them where it's in your phone, so if you can't find it when you're stopped, you can show the officer your insurance card, because many times they will accept that and they won't give you the ticket, or they won't arrest you. It's just many things we have to be proactive at, keeping our insurance cards on us, keeping those air fresheners that are obstructing views. Sometimes even though we have a right to have some things in our car, if we believe that we might be stopped for it, it behooves us to take the action to remove it so that we don't get stopped. We don't want to have tinted windows that are not manufactured tinted windows. It's a lot of things that cause the police to pay attention to certain cars, and so we just want. And seatbelts and cell phones. Those are so important. Wear your seatbelts, and those who have children, make sure you have your child restraint seats in your car properly. We're getting a lot of child restraint tickets because the children are not properly restrained, and if your child is one who unfastens it, you got to fasten it back, because you're going to get the ticket and go to court, not the child.
Right.
So just little things like that: child restraint, seat belts. Don't have the cell phone in your hand. Illinois is a hands-free state. Many people come to court and say, but I have the cell phone record showing that I wasn't talking. You can get a ticket for it being in your hand for using GPS. That's Illinois law.
Wait, for using GPS?
Yes, because it's in your hand. GPS does not excuse you. You need to go to the side, park, take the car. Now this is interesting. You need to take the car out of gear, because there's a city ticket that says that the car is out of gear, meaning that you can't just pull off. And I've had a couple of tickets where people have come in, they say, but my car was running and I was parked, and they got tickets anywhere because they still had the car in a gear where they could pull off and take off. So it's that critical. The car can't be operational, so you have to park, turn it off, use your phone, and then put it back on.
What if you're watching a video but it's on a I
don't think you should be watching videos in your car. I mean, that's my personal opinion, not as a judge. It's just, I think anything that distracts you, it should not be done in a car.
Because people are watching, they hang it in the car, they're not holding it, and whilst they're driving, they're watching a movie or something, and it's not against the law, but it's not advisable.
Well, it's against the law if you're a driver. I mean, you can't be looking at a video and driving. That's distracted driving. And we got to watch our speeds too, because I recently had a young lady who came into court, and she was driving 101. And she was only 18 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So of course in those cases you have to give traffic safety school, because apparently she doesn't know how to regulate her speed. So but it's very important traffic court can be very expensive, and we need to stay out of it as much as we can.
And time constraining because you have to leave work and go to court.
Yes.
So in order to avoid all that, just do the right thing.
One other thing, you just brought up another point. In Illinois, we don't have an online payment system.
Okay.
So if you come to traffic court and you get a $214 mandatory fees and costs and you don't have to have the money, you're going to have to come back to court until you pay it off.
Wow.
Every payment will be tied to a court date.
Okay. We have a few minutes to wrap up, but then we will continue with your conversation, with the conversation of your coming up election. Why should people, consider you and say, okay, she's the right person for us? I mean, you've given us some reasons, but, are there more, would you want to confirm or reiterate why, people should go out of their way to help
I
you?
actually think my track record speaks for me.
Okay.
I really have I believe in legal competence and having knowledge of the law. I believe also that you also have to care about people, and you have to know how to, as my card says, it has to be justice tempered by mercy,
Right.
because there are times you're going to have to be hard, and there are times that you have to show leniency, and I have been proven on those issues. I think we need judges who know how to balance. Anybody can render judgment. That's easy.
Okay.
What is harder is balancing the fact and caring about a person enough to see if you see hope in them, and if there's a way that you can meet the demands of the law, but still enable that person to have hope and a future. Some crimes where you're going to have to give people a lot of time, you still got to balance that. I mean, it's always a balancing thing. And I'm a person who really believes where I can show some leniency, I'm going to show it when it's justified. But if someone has to get a harder sentence, then I can do that as well.
Okay.
It's a balancing act.
Well, our producer, if you were, give us maybe 2 minutes in addition to our time, we'll take one musical break. And then when we come back, we'll have the judge wrap up her conversation for this evening. And so if that is ready, we'll roll in while producer is getting ready. Hello, welcome back to the Progressive Mind Show. This is WGHC 98.3, and this is your host, Senna. We have been speaking with Judge Deborah A. Seaton, and she has given us a lot of good information regarding traffic courts, child support, and some of the court cases that can affect our immigration status or immigration that can affect us now and in the future, and some of the things that we have to pay attention to. Some of the driving rules, your seatbelt, insurance, some of these petty things that we want to avoid so that it doesn't end us in court and end us in paying unnecessary, spend unnecessary money on things that we could have avoided, and maybe even in worst case, having a dent on our records and so forth. Can you please, we've come to the end of the show this evening, but we'll give you the last word. Please tell us what leave our listeners with something about you and about the court system, if you may.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me, and it's always a great opportunity to impart knowledge to the community.
Yes.
Because I believe a community that's educated and knowledgeable can impact their own destiny. And so something about me is that I'm passionate about educating our community. I'm passionate about justice and legal issues that affect our communities, and trying to impart a level of community awareness about what our rights are and about how you can make a positive impact if you ever have to go to court. Some of the things that you could do to avoid having to go to court. I am just passionate about that. I thank God for the opportunity to be appointed as a judge. I want to stay in my position as a judge so that I can have a sphere of influence to be a gatekeeper of justice in our courts, and one who will go far to not be status quo and can be a person who brings hope back to our community that there are fair judges and that we have a legal system that works.
That works. And the person that does not only care about implementing to the fullness the law of the country, but also has people at heart, and like you said, temper justice with mercy. And so you are looking out for the future of people and balancing it with your work. And lastly, where should people go to in September to try to help you or vote for you and so forth? Where, if somebody was, okay, I want to help, I want to vote for you, what should they do? Go online or go to where?
Well, they can actually, we have, our website is being set up, and it should be up and running very, very soon. But I have an email address, which is citizens to elect Judge Deborah Seaton @gmail.com. It's again, citizens to elect Judge Deborah Seaton @gmail.com, or you can call the campaign telephone number, which is 773-503-4285. Again, that's 773-503-4285.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Judge Deborah A. Seaton, for coming here to educate our community. Apparently, what you are passionate about is what the Progressive Mind is also passionate about, and what it is the same thing the WGHC organization is passionate about: uplifting and building and informing our community. And so we are definitely in the right place, and we have the same mind, the same goal. It's been wonderful, listeners, coming your way once again this evening with this wonderful show. Please continue the conversations in your home. Please keep keeping God first in everything you do. Next week we'll be coming your way with the Abolition Institute, another wonderful package for our community, all in the aim of building what God has blessed us with. All right. So stay tuned. We thank you so much for staying with us, and keep sharing the feed even as the conversation has come to an end. Remember, it's September. Beginning September, right?
Yes.
Okay.
September 5th.
September 5th. Remember to go help Judge Seaton retain her seat, and then in February to
February to March to vote.
February to March is when the voting actually it takes place. Remember this. Any more information you want from her, she's giving you the number. You can also reach out to the Progressive Minds show. Send us an email to info.progressiveminds@gmail.com. info@progressiveminds@gmail.com. Thank you. It's been good coming your way. God bless you. We will see you next week. This has been your host, Senna, with the Progressive Mind Show. Bye-bye.
Depend on no one for attainment of my brain. Oh, these words are my calling. Children crying, white squad tears. Hunger rampant, harvest plenty. Ooh, oh, Africans in African pride, fighting to attain our rights. One more shedding of blood. Africa, free Africa. Whoa, yeah. African with African pride, fighting to attain our rights. One world, shedding our blood for this nation to move forward. African with African pride, fighting to attain our rights. One world, shedding our blood for this nation to move forward. But make we can all unite, put each man different aside. Why can't we just come together, seize this tribal war and fight? Who know better knows to better. A force of collective inside may not be exposed to education, but surely knows wrong from right. African with African pride, fighting to attain our rights.
98.3 FM.
While you, but we are nothing's friend. From the see the first time, want to trust in them. I'm a why you get anything you like. Long as you are right, then me alright. Me know you man, that's why I'm alive.
Your voice, your music.
Whether me in a skirt or jeans or short shorts, head race when me walk past. Me feel the eyes, believe the eye. Me love the light, me do it spy.
Baby, pana, they say like you all I got you all baby, pana. Anywhere that you go, I can follow you to go, baby. New level.
You're listening to WGHC 98.3 FM.
New level, new level. New level, new level. New level, new level.